Welcome back to the Maltep Dental Podcast. I am Chris, here with Jessica, and this is part 2 of our 3-part series on dental veneers in Turkey. Last episode, we talked about money. Today, we are talking about the thing that actually matters more, and I would argue it is the single most important thing in this entire conversation.
How much of your tooth is still there when the treatment is finished?
Right. How much of your tooth is still there? And Jessica, I want to start with something that surprised me when we were preparing this. Most patients do not know this decision is being made.
They really do not. Somebody walks in and says, I want veneers, I want a whiter, straighter smile. They are describing an outcome. They are not describing a procedure. And there are meaningfully different procedures that can produce a similar looking outcome, but they do very different things to the tooth underneath.
Okay, so break it down for me. What is the spectrum here?
Think of it as a spectrum of how much natural tooth structure gets removed. At the conservative end, you have minimal preparation approaches, where a very thin layer is reduced and a thin shell is bonded to the front surface of the tooth. At the other end, you have full coverage, where the tooth is reduced on all sides and a crown goes over the entire thing, like a cap.
And a crown covers everything.
All the way around, which means significantly more of the original tooth has been reduced to make room for it.
Here's my question, and I think it is the question everybody has. Why would anybody choose the more aggressive option?
There are legitimate clinical reasons, and I want to be careful and fair here. Sometimes a tooth is already heavily damaged, or heavily filled, or root treated, and there is not enough healthy structure left to bond a thin shell to. In those cases, full coverage is genuinely the right call. This is not a good versus evil situation. There are real cases where a crown is the correct treatment.
Okay, so when is it not the right call?
When there is not a clinical reason specific to your tooth. And I want to be careful here, because I am not accusing anyone of anything. I am describing a general pressure that exists in any high-volume cosmetic setting, anywhere in the world. Full coverage is more predictable to execute and faster to make uniform across a whole arch. So the honest thing for a patient to do is simply ask which reason is driving the recommendation in their own case.
And that is an uncomfortable thing for a patient to sit with.
It is. And it is exactly why the study we discussed last episode is interesting. Prismoon assessed over 40 Turkish clinics using 7 weighted criteria, and clinical philosophy and materials was weighted at 18%. That was the second highest weight in the whole model, behind only reviews and patient satisfaction at 20%. It outweighed value for money, which was 12%.
So they deliberately made philosophy count for more than price.
Deliberately. The methodology explicitly prioritized conservative treatment approaches that preserve natural tooth structure over aggressive full coverage procedures. And to be fair to everybody involved, Prismoon is clear that this is their own editorial scoring model, not a clinical or regulatory assessment, and that they applied minimally invasive preparation as a weighted criterion rather than as a measure of clinical outcome. With that said, Maltep Dental Clinic scored highest among the 5 finalists, ahead of Dental Center Turkey, Seville Smile, Atelia Dental, and West Dent Clinic.
And their lead dentist commented on this specifically, right?
Dr. Alper Gurhan said, being recognized for our conservative approach reflects a commitment we have held for years. And he immediately added, not every patient is a candidate for minimal preparation veneers, and part of our job in the consultation is telling people honestly when they are not. I actually think that second sentence is the more important one. It is a dentist saying out loud that the conservative option is not always available to you.
Let us talk about why this is irreversible, because I think that word is doing a lot of work, and people skate past it.
Yes, please let us sit on this. Enamel does not grow back. Your body does not regenerate it. Once a layer of your natural tooth has been reduced away, that is a permanent, one-directional change. Every future treatment you ever have on that tooth starts from the new, smaller baseline.
So it is not just about this treatment. It is about every treatment after it.
That is the part people miss completely. Restorations do not last forever. Whatever you have done now will eventually need attention, and most likely more than once over a lifetime. And each time the dentist is working with whatever tooth is left. That is simply the arithmetic of a material that does not regenerate.
You are describing a ladder where you only go down.
Exactly right. Dentistry has this concept of a treatment ladder, and the general principle is you want to get on at the lowest rung that solves your problem, because you can always climb up later. You cannot climb back down. A conservative treatment can become a crown later if it needs to. A crown cannot become a minimal preparation veneer. Ever.
Okay, so practically, somebody is in a consultation, maybe on a video call before they fly. What do they ask?
I would ask 4 questions, and I would write them down beforehand. Question 1. How much tooth structure are you removing, and can you show me on a model or a photograph what that looks like? Question 2. Is a more conservative option possible in my case, and if not, why not specifically? Question 3. What is the clinical reason for the approach you are recommending in terms of my teeth, not in terms of the result? Question 4. What happens in 15 or 20 years? What does the next treatment look like from here?
And what does a good answer sound like?
A good answer is specific to you. It references your particular teeth, your existing fillings, your bite, your enamel condition. A bad answer is generic. If the answer to why not a more conservative option is essentially, this is just how we do it, or this gives a better result without any reference to your actual mouth, that is a flag. Not proof of anything, but a flag.
What about people who have already had aggressive work done? Because I know somebody is listening to this right now, feeling awful.
Please do not spiral. First, plenty of full coverage work is done well on the right cases and lasts a very long time. Having a crown is not a catastrophe. It is an extremely common and often correct treatment. Second, if you are unhappy or uncomfortable, the useful move is a fresh assessment with somebody who has nothing to gain from either defending or criticizing the previous work. Not a comment section. An actual clinician.
Good, give me the takeaways.
3. 1. You are not just choosing a smile, you are choosing how much of your natural tooth survives the process, and almost nobody tells you that up front. 2. The direction only goes one way. Conservative can become aggressive later if you need it to. Aggressive can never become conservative. So start low on the ladder. 3. Ask why. Ask it out loud, in the consultation, and expect an answer that is about your specific teeth. A clinic that welcomes that question is telling you something. So is a clinic that gets impatient with it.
That is a fantastic place to end. Next episode, we get completely practical. How do you actually vet a clinic from 2,000 miles away? Accreditation in-house laboratories, what an ISO certification really guarantees, and the aftercare question that almost nobody asks until it is too late. Jessica, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. And the standing reminder, this is general information, not clinical advice. Nobody on this podcast has looked at your teeth. Go get a proper examination from a qualified dentist. See you next time.